Okay, we're starting there because we just said some great things and then I forgot to hit the record button and I have no excuse because Mercury is not retrograde. My apologies. So we were just saying how um, Lena's been noticing Trump's downtrend. Indeed, one of her videos said, call 911. I remember not having a good laugh. But I too have noticed it. And I said how I've mentioned for quite some time that his health is in decline, it's in trouble. And then people will say, well, yeah, you keep saying that, but why isn't he being carried on a stretcher? Why is he still there? Because that's sometimes how health works. And it's still possible that he'll have an event as well, but you're
Yeah.
seeing the decline before your very eyes. And we were also just saying about how we're headed toward the convention, and you were saying something about how the way they're going to likely run the convention is to all compete for the affection and the approval of the king, which is what they're always doing, pretty much. But I guess
Yes.
ramped up to the sky, right, to the limit.
And it is going to be like Game of Thrones on steroids, you
Mm.
know, because what you've got is competitive loyalty. And I'm sure this goes on in the Vatican and other concentrated places where people go to obscene lengths to be more righteous than the other person.
Mm. Yeah.
So we're going to see some out and out lunacy at the convention.
Yeah, yeah, I could totally see that, and I could add that that convention has, uh, at minimum, rowdy energy, and at maximum, dangerous, explosive energy, based on
Mm.
there's a Mars Uranus conjunction. That's, and by the way, not a good conjunction for him. That conjunction is a major threat because where it's conjoining aspects one of his planets, and Uranus is notorious for, like you stick your finger in the socket without realizing it and you get shocked.
Yeah.
And so, not a good thing. So, including, by the way, the whole panorama that he's in mid June to mid July, really till the end of August, till the end of July, sorry, is not good territory. So anything, the convention is one event, but there is the debate, there is
Campaigning
the
and
sentencing. This is not good territory. It's very threatening territory, right?
yeah.
So there's that.
And I feel sorry for Judge Mushan, actually, because what do you do with this man, right?
Yeah, yeah. What do you
You
do?
can't fine him and you can't really jail him when he's in the middle of a campaign. So what do you do with him? I'm thinking he might go for a suspended sentence or weekend detention. That's a possibility. What do you think?
Well, that would be the minimum. He could also impose, because you see, the thing is, Trump has gone out of his way to deserve a sentence, because one of the things is, by the standard of any normal person, and I know he's not normal, period, but you're supposed to express remorse. He does the opposite. You're supposed to
Yeah.
do things that would then lead the judge to give you a lesser sentence. He is basically saying, I don't care what you think, you're corrupt, the whole system is corrupt, I never did anything. So
Yeah.
if the judge doesn't give him something, it's going to seem like a bit of a farce. But what he might do is he might impose a sentence such as home confinement of some kind, but later, in other words, deferred, to say,
Defer,
run the
defer.
campaign.
Yeah.
And but I would be surprised if he just totally left him out, let him off the hook and said, you can be like this, and because you're Donald Trump, you get off scot free.
And
And the
it's
reason I'm thinking this
34
is
counts. Yeah.
sorry, say that again.
It's 34
34
counts.
counts, yeah, right. And the reason that this to me also makes sense is the sentencing comes days before the convention. So I'm thinking, well, that convention is really rowdy and crazy. One of the reasons would be if he is saying, look what they did to me. Can you imagine jailing someone like me? No, this has never happened to anyone before. I know, because we've never had an effing crook like you. That's why it's happening to you. I mean, it's so obvious. But yeah,
Yes, yeah.
so
And they're going to totally spin in support of him, whatever the sentence, however mild, they're going to go absolutely hysterical.
Yeah, yeah, no, and I mean, in a way, for them, it's become a strategy, but it's a strategy that already there are numbers I've seen where, in fact, Karl Rove was doing the numbers on
Oh, yeah.
Fox, and he said since the judgment, since the 34 counts, 10% of independents bailed and
Mm.
are against Trump. So this kind of thing has an effect. And if you want more effect, if I were Biden's coach, I would say every chance you get, remind him that he's a felon so that he can
Hmm.
scream and yell, remind him. And if he says you did it, say I had nothing to do with it. Just keep repeating that. I mean, they do this all the time.
Yes.
So say, I didn't do this, a jury of your peers. You know, it takes quite a bit for 12 people to agree in 9 hours. There's no fix.
Yeah.
You know, why don't you point to the people that sold you out? Why do you never say that David Pecker? Why do you keep talking about Michael Cohen? David Pecker,
Yeah.
the jury didn't ask about Michael Cohen. The jury asked about David Pecker. That tells
Yeah.
you he was the
Good
one that,
point.
but you never bring him up. Why? What's going on
No.
there, Donald? Do you still have
Yeah.
deals with this guy? I mean, it's unbelievable that we're even talking about this in a serious way because it's so plainly obvious, you know? Yeah.
It's such a bizarre time
Hmm.
in history that he has survived a whole presidency where he did nothing for his people. Normally, the populists get in, then they do nothing, then they get voted out or something. But he's still this godlike figure to them, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's 100% true. Every time and I've been doing this the last year, I keep finding these great documentaries on the Second World War, the Hitler phenomenon, and the echoes are unbelievable. You just see this
Absolutely
same
specific.
routine. It's incredible. Hitler and his toadies and Trump and his toadies, and the way they were, you know, the propaganda, the repetition, the narcissism, the same thing. It's the same idea. But I always ask myself, why are you following Hitler? I mean, how did that end for him? You know, who are your idols?
Yeah.
What are you thinking about? These things never end well because society doesn't like it by and large.
Yeah.
Not everybody, but you know, it's never going to be in the U.S. I know in Australia. Do you ever get any more than 55% in Australia for one party?
It's rare.
See,
No,
there you
it's
go.
usually a coalition.
Hmm.
And so for us, we have the equivalent of the Conservatives and the Dems are Labor, and then the Green Party, environmental party, gets about 12% of the vote. So that's enough to
That's enough,
sway into a coalition.
right?
But there's been an interesting development, I think, generally with elections. I think we're going to see independent third parties emerge more and more in the next cycle. It's
In this
too
cycle.
late for this cycle.
Hmm.
But for the next cycle, I think we're going to see it in the UK. I think we're going to see it in the US, and it's long overdue.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Can
in
I
this
ask you
cycle.
a question, Andre?
Oh, sure, of course, yeah.
What do you think, or who do you think Trump will go for VP? Will he announce during the thing, or have you got any vibe on that at all?
I mean,
Because that's critical.
the only vibe it comes from Trump being always a one trick pony. He never does anything unexpected in that sense. He thinks he does. He's always telling people how you need to be independent and you need to be unpredictable. But he's so predictable because if you don't look the part, he doesn't choose you. If you're not a bit of a lamppost like the way Pence was, Trump doesn't want someone around him who is going to in any way upstage him. So I don't see how he chooses someone who would in any way be like a Sarah Palin type that starts to do the rogue thing. Not good.
Yes.
He wants he wants worship literally. He wants people to bow to him. So for instance, that the guy from South Dakota, he could be a good candidate in that he looks the part. He's got a lot of money, and he's not really very talkative. Other people say Tim Scott. I don't see how he chooses Marco Rubio after he insulted him as much as he did. What's your sense? I don't really have any
Well,
kind
I'll
of vibe.
share my fears. I really hope he doesn't go for JD Vance,
Ah,
right? Because JD Vance can pull out the hillbilly card and get that vote, plus he's college educated and can get that vote and sounds reasonable, even though he's right. So that terrifies me, as does Nikki Haley, because she's a total hawk disguised as a normal person. I don't think he'll go for a woman. I'm hoping he doesn't go for JD Vance. I hope he goes for the cardboard cutout, you know?
yeah. Although keep in mind that J.D. Vance is going to run into Kamala Harris, and the problem with the Republicans is they have a very, very damaged. They have a platform that has so many holes. You know, all that Kamala has to say is, "Let's talk about women's rights." And what are they going to say? You know, he's going to start moving around, and they don't have a lot of places to go. So
Mm.
even for JD Vance, in other words, he's going to get damaged in a debate for sure, which will be the time when people see him. And, you know, a lot of times these guys, whether it's Vance, Trump, and even Biden, they're talking to their own people. You know, the only time you speak to independents is maybe when they see you in a debate, they see the entire pattern because they're not paying as much attention as most of us. So, in a way, I don't think it matters if he chooses JD Vance, but I hear what you're saying because he seems a little more threatening. Actually, Haley for sure, Haley, but will he choose her after what happened?
No,
I don't know. That doesn't
no,
feel.
no. I'm not worried so much about this. I'm worried who the GOP are going to, because let's look at it this way. We've got two men who are not young and not totally healthy. So the VPs are more important in this election than historically.
Right, right. But remember that Kamala, I don't know about JD Vance if it's him, for example,
Mm,
or even Haley. I don't have her birth time either. I just know that
mm.
her chart is pretty good though. She would be a threat. I wouldn't like her
Yeah,
being in there because she's got
yeah,
a
yeah,
little too
yeah,
much power there. But Kamala has a very nice situation now because she's Gemini rising and Jupiter's in Gemini now right through the election. So Jupiter in your rising sign is one of the best years in 12 and shows up a lot in election
yeah,
victories. So she's a major asset to Biden, not to mention that she has to cast off that thing that she's acquired where people say she's not popular. Kamala is plenty, competent. She just needs to get out there and make the message known, and she could be a major asset to the campaign and for herself. She could help herself a lot. So there's
yes.
that.
And I've changed over the last 12 months because I was in the couldn't warm to Kamala um, camp. But she's one of those people who I think is smart enough and sentient enough to grow into the position.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah. No,
You know?
absolutely. I mean, she's a prosecutor. If you want to know Kamala, the essence of Kamala, just go on YouTube and search for when she confronted Bill Barr, and you will see you wouldn't want to be prosecuted by her. She knows
Yeah.
exactly what's going on, and she knows the questions, and she's on it. It's just that
Mm,
then she's trying to be a politician. It gets more complicated. Biden
mm.
put her in charge of the border, which is like putting you in charge of the porta potty. I
Oh,
mean, it's a
oh,
bad it's a bad assignment, right? So,
yeah.
but I think she's really underestimated by people. And by the way, so is Joe. Even though you said, and it's true, the health concern. I wish I could say there's nothing in the chart to point to that, but there is. There's a possibility because there's energy in the health area making oppositions. And when you take that and his age into account, it's possible. On the other hand, this is the
Ah,
problem with the trickiness with astrology is it doesn't necessarily have to show up that way. It could just be the pressure of the campaign because that same house involves the day-to-day work. And, you know, Joe keeps fooling us all the time. People are always saying,
yes.
he's not here, he's not here. And then probably he just has a cup of coffee. And all of a sudden, his
Yeah.
eyes get bigger. And the thing is, he has lots and lots of experience and he can explain the
Yeah.
situation pretty well. So, do you feel though, like, is it your intuition that there's something to literally, take him out from his health or that kind of thing? Would it go that far?
No, I keep hoping, rather than an intuitive certainty, I keep hoping he gets in and then steps away not long after, giving Kamala the reins, you know?
Oh well, that would be
Because I think, put it this way, there's no way that I can see Joe Biden going 4 years from this point, or
right,
even two for that matter. So
right.
the sooner the better, once everything limps over the line, in
Hmm.
this election. So that would
Right,
be what I'm on
right,
my
right,
knees
right.
praying for. Yeah.
I mean, the thing is, it's that that would be ideal, of course, and no, and of course, it would also be the ultimate revenge in terms of,
Yeah.
because that's what a lot of these Republicans. Oh, this is just a sneaky way to get a woman in there. Really, seriously? I mean, we would do so well right now with a woman president. I mean, it's enough with these
Yeah.
entitled white men, especially the way they treat women. I'm amazed that a single woman votes for these guys. It's so insulting.
It's staggering, isn't it? Because we're not talking a little bit conservative here. We're talking barbarism. We're
Yes,
talking Middle Ages stuff,
yeah, no, 100%, 100%. But I don't know from the astrology, both the U.S. chart, the immediacy, and the meta model. This doesn't work. This
No.
era will not tolerate this kind of approach, and so it's not going to work. And in the near term, it's put them in a really bad spot because, to me, the women's issues alone are the loser for them in this election. There's no way around it.
Yeah,
No, because
absolutely.
I w
And the only smart thing Trump's done, and I think it's only because he's not interested, is say, I'm going to make it a state issue. Then he doesn't have to talk about it.
no, but he still does. He still
This,
does because I guarantee you they're going
yeah,
to throw it. I guarantee you Biden is going to say he's going to have the paragraphs ready to explain why that's not enough because here's what making it a state issue is doing, right? Here's what's happening.
exactly. And I think this brings us to the collective. And I think Biden needs to hammer it home too.
Mm,
Um, if a 12-year-old is made to carry the baby of her rapist, how can a society tolerate that in the modern world? And so this is, I think, one of the things that's holding the US back from universal health care. I
mhm,
understand all the other issues that it's big pharma and no one's got the energy, time, wherewithal, and will to tackle the whole system, which is what it'd take.
mhm,
But you have to think as a collective, excuse me, as a society to move forward. So when the countries that became great after the Second World War, so that's UK, Australia, Canada, the US, on and on, it was a time when there was bipartisan agreement on health, education, and energy.
correct.
Those are the big
Hmm.
things because they're 20-year plans, 40-year plans,
Hmm. Right,
right?
right.
And now we've all devolved into these 3-year cycles of
Hmm.
arse cover that
Hmm.
go nowhere.
Hmm.
Now, America missed that leap. The other countries all came up with a version of universal health care.
Right.
And the US came up with this bizarre system of employers paying for people's. Why should your employer pay for your health? Why? This is why you pay taxes, is to pay for health. So
Mm,
it becomes so normalized when it is not a normal thing.
correct. Yeah, it's true. True.
But for it to work, you've got to take some collective responsibility. So, as an example, in Australia, everyone pays 1.5% of their taxable income is the Medicare levy.
Hmm.
If you earn over 200,000, you pay 2.5%.
Above that, above the
Of
200,000.
what your taxable income is. They calculate 2.5% of that, and that is dedicated to Medicare.
Right.
Okay. I mix with Australians of all sorts of economic incomes. I've never heard a wealthy Australian say, oh, why should I pay 2.5 when everyone else pays 1.5? Because they don't want to live in a society where people can't afford, are dying of preventable illnesses, you know.
Yeah, yeah, no,
I
it's
don't
true.
think America's there yet.
It's true. Well, the thing is, though, that in America, the way I see the reason why this, in large measure, it happens this way is that the one of the parties, and it's just the way conservative parties here have been forever, and they're even worse now. They constantly, uh, repeat the message: "This is socialized medicine. This is bad. This is bad for the country." And so, even people that who should realize that it's in their better interest to have socialized medicine, as they call it, will
Mm.
speak against it. And so we can't get out of the cycle because if it's not the Republican Party, it's Fox News and all those different channels saying this is the
Oh,
wrong
it's
thing to
very
do.
deep.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
very deep.
hmm
And Bernie Sanders, bless his heart, talk about express highway to heaven. He's did his best for 10 years to just address those fears and explain. And independent economic think tanks, left, right, and independent, tried to prove him wrong and couldn't. Because the irony is Americans individually pay more for healthcare than any other system in the world. So, in other words, it costs more to have the worst system. It would actually be cheaper, but it's structural. I'm a sociologist, so we look at history, culture, and structural
right,
issues.
right.
And when you look at those in the US context, I think the US is a million miles from universal healthcare.
Well, and that said, that's another attack point that I'm sure Biden is going to take, which is that Trump tried to take away the what we have, which is the Affordable Care Act, which is helping many, many people now, tens of millions. And Trump tried to do it, and he's already said that he, as usual, I'll give you something much better. It's just like this guy keeps repeating the same thing. He didn't do it then, and if he gets a
No,
chance,
no intention of doing it now.
he would try to take it away, and there's no question of that. And I would throw that in his face as a way to scare people because it's true. It's not made up.
It's interesting that you just say that because the Dems always shy away from scaring people. Okay.
Yeah, well,
I said that, but this is a time where you need to scare the bejesus out of people
yeah.
in terms of healthcare and 401k. Your retirement is on the line. If you vote for these people, you're going to lose it.
Well,
You
I
know?
mean, are you kidding? I mean, if I this is what I would tell Biden. First chance you get in the debate is say, "Hey, I hear that you're gonna deport 18 million people." Well, here's the thing, right? A lousy manager like you, a total incompetent manager who can't manage anything, I can only imagine how that's gonna go, right? Not to
Yeah,
mention that it's a completely inhuman and unbelievably stupid thing to do. But the idea that
yeah.
you're even pondering this should scare the living lights out of people because you're a total fool. We saw what you did in COVID. We saw how completely out of whack you are with any notion of managing. And this,
Mm.
by the way, I'm not exaggerating or engaging in hyperbole. He really is very bad at it. He has no idea what he's doing. So
Yes, and doesn't care.
yeah, doesn't
Right?
care, of
This is
course.
the other thing. And that's why I'm confused on some level, not really, but why people follow him so totally when he came in promising big, beautiful healthcare, didn't do it. Bringing back coal and steel, didn't do it.
Didn't
All
do
he
it.
did was a tariff on the soya farmers and sent them to the wall,
I know.
And I think the Dems need to everyone goes, oh, the Lincoln Project puts out these great ads. They might work in the American context. I always go, really? Because I think the voice that matters, that should be on every Dem ad, is people who voted for him who are not voting for him now.
Right.
So you need Joe Blow from Indiana going, I was a Trump man, and I thought
Mhm.
he was going to do this and he didn't. That's the voice that's going to erode this phenomenon. And I haven't seen it yet. I can look at it, I can see 100 of them in my feed, but that should be the ads too.
Yeah. No. And well, there's also the fact that I know the astrology. He's not going to win. So good
Thank
luck.
you for
Good luck with that. Hey, I'm sorry, but no. I just no. So, I mean, and now does this mean this is the problem, right? That if you say that, does this mean you give license to people to stay home? No, of course not. The whole idea, because this is the other thing. It's just so maddening that if you think someone is going to win, in democracies, the whole idea is to win as big as possible. It's like in tennis. You try to win
Yeah,
6-0 because that's how you get mandates. Never,
yeah.
ever, whether it's a
Don't
local
leave
election.
it to everyone else.
Yes, of course. It's such an obvious thing, but people go, whatever, it's not that interesting. That's how you get in trouble. That's what happened in
Yes,
2016. Huge undervote. And then third parties had far more influence than they needed to because
yes,
the voting was so depressed. And, the people, can you imagine? Oh, well, Hillary's not going to help me as much as Obama. What are you thinking about? Where's your brain? I'm sorry. I mean,
yeah.
it's maddening. It's maddening when people do
It
that.
is frustrating in the
Yeah.
extreme. But my mantra to everybody who listens to this and other related videos is if you spend the time that might take 6 or 8 weeks to convince one other person to vote who
Mhm.
wouldn't otherwise, you are doubling your vote
Correct.
and you're helping the bigger cause.
Correct.
Because there's a lot of people in that category that is, oh, I can't be bothered, no, no, no. These are people, some of them have never voted, some of them used to vote and don't now, some of them voted till this one. They have to be nurtured over the line.
Makes a lot of sense. Or alternatively, get involved with people that are looking for people that usually don't vote to encourage them to vote. It's the idea
Totally.
of register them, explain to them why this is really important. Because a lot of people switch off and they say, my vote doesn't matter, things will never change. And say, well, no, look, I mean, right now it's pretty dicey. Things could change for the worst. So,
Well, exactly. There's a
yeah,
lot of that, what Mary Trump calls both siderism, which is a bit awkward, but oh, they're all the same. No, they're not.
they're not. No, they're not.
No, they're not.
They're not even close to. I mean, the incredible thing about this is even now, here we are, long time since we had Bush and Cheney. We used to think Bush and Cheney were Darth Vader and his helper,
Yes, they
and
look like lambs
now we think they're
now.
statesmen. But even so, people like Bush and Cheney, they like jurists like Alito and Kavanaugh, which already now, and that was kept coming out of an election where Democrats made mistakes in the voting, and because they say the Republicans cheated. They only cheated after 90,000 brilliant Democrats voted for Ralph Nader. That was the problem. That they then were short 500 votes, it would have made no difference, right? So that led to Alito and Roberts. And then same apathy in 2016 leads to three more judges.
Mm.
This is not Republicans. This is Democrats not playing chess. They're playing checkers. Oh,
Yes,
well, it doesn't matter.
yes,
Let someone else
yes.
vote. Take it seriously because your life gets affected. Now you're seeing that they're talking about your rights. I mean, contraception. I mean, things where you think, what's going on here? We're going back to 1920. The way this
I
is
know.
going.
And can you imagine a situation where we're watching the United States of America allowing book banning and book burning?
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
It's, and because everyone's so inundated with this stuff, it barely raises an eyebrow when any individual thing of these would have been an earth-shattering scandal 10 years ago. It's,
Yeah, yeah. No, it's mad. I mean, it's a difficult time, and keep in mind that at the same time, as my favorite pundit, who's an ex-Republican, Joe Scarborough, keeps repeating,
yeah, it's
he
good.
keeps saying, well, these Republicans seem to be intent on losing. This guy's been losing. He won a really tight election in 2016. He won by a hair. It was so close. Of course, he said it was a landslide. It was not a
Yeah,
landslide. It was
no,
very, very tight. And
scary close.
ever since then, the smell of MAGA and you lose all across the
Mm,
board. There have been so many elections, 17, 18, 19, 20, every year, mayoral, district elections, they
governor, yeah.
everywhere. So the guy's not a winner; he's a loser. But he's
Mm,
great at creating the perception that he's something he isn't, basically, right? And
mm.
so here we are. But the point being that even with all these problems, the I know it's not a big sliver. I know that I would be amazed if we got more than a 53-47, let's say, or
Yeah,
52-48.
yeah, yeah. That
That's
would be
about
a
it.
big day.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know. And then
But
people,
it
and then
shouldn't be.
part of that would be that, okay, so if you think rightfully this is scandalous, how can someone this incompetent and this corrupt be this close? I know. But the other side of that is it's gonna hurt him even more because he think he got close again, and
Yeah.
he's gonna be so upset, and they're all gonna be really upset. By the way, why do you think they continue with the same plan? It's because they keep losing pretty close. They don't lose,
Yes, yes.
they don't get
Which is
killed, so
what
then
you
they
were
think
saying
you
before
just
about make
gotta
the gap bigger.
exactly.
Put
So
them in the wilderness, you know.
exactly, yeah. So the problem is that I don't think that'll happen because elections like that was the Obama, McCain, they're rare most of the time.
Yeah.
Biden won with 7 million votes, but it was really close in the electoral distribution. It was really close.
Yes,
So,
totally.
you know,
Now, Andre, can I ask you another question,
oh,
please?
of course.
About Europe. In what Hogarth calls the esoteric aeroplane, let's go to Europe. I love that. We've seen, well, Hungary go to the right, which is never a surprise, but the Netherlands was a bit of a surprise. You have the situation in Italy where they went to the right. Again, they will always swing left, right, left. But you've got a woman when the name of the party is the Italian Brotherhood. What is that about? And France. Now France is on the edge. I'd be really interested in your opinion of what's happening astrologically with the EU and
Well, see, well, first is to see the echoes of history. So this was one of Mark Twain's famous lines where he said, "History doesn't repeat, but it does rhyme." So you don't necessarily get the same thing, but the echoes are amazing in that we're in the Uranus cycle where it was in the Second World War and in the Civil War. And there are periods when the world becomes more turbulent and you get a lot of change, but in the midst of the change, it feels uncomfortable, right? And now,
Mm,
my hope is that it's not going to turn into a hot war. It's already a cold war. You're seeing it
mm,
throughout the planet. There's a lot of disharmony. And to be honest, I've always felt that the West, by and large, has been too liberal on immigration. And that's why all of this is happening because countries were too willing uh, to relate to immigration. And this is what I read anyway, that the resentment in France, the resentment in Germany, in the UK, Brexit had a lot to do with that. They should have been more disciplined around that. And so they're going to have to tackle that issue better than they're tackling it now. But realize that because we're in this particular period, there is trouble everywhere. And bottom line, essentially, we have to get through it. And to me, it feels more like the last stages of an attempt at fascist, centralized rule. If you think about the 1930s, there was this attempt on the part of single individuals, Hitler, Mussolini, Hirohito in Japan. There was this idea that one individual would be in charge. Well, the world didn't go that way. The world turned, in fact, democracies became more strengthened, except in Russia. That was the one country that became the foil. So we're in the same period now in terms of the echoes, and we have to get through it, hoping there won't be a conflict. And it may be that we're already in that conflict because probably the central conflict is the Ukrainian war.
mm,
It's the battle between does the West hold and keep Putin in his place, or does he break through somehow?
mm,
And to me, that tells you a lot because I feel like that's where the fascist impulse will be checked. I think that Putin is going to be stopped. My feeling is that Russia, Russia is on that Saturn Neptune conjunction,
mm.
which affected them in 17, 52, and late 80s. They had major changes each time. They're about to get another one. And the only way I see this going for Russia is they're going to have to pull back and figure out a different way to do things, meaning uh,
Mm.
they have to be content with far less than what they thought they were going to get out of it, including probably Putin having to leave. The problem, though, is that this could take us into 2026, and people want solutions right away. They want to know,
Yes,
tell me
this
that
is
by
an
the new year it's
ongoing
going to
problem.
be good. I doubt it. I think we're looking at least 2 to 4 years more of quite a bit of dread, because the other thing, too, is, do you seriously believe Trump is going to accept his loss? No. He's going to do whatever he can to maintain the terror, the uncertainty and so forth. So,
Right.
yeah.
I'd like to double back to what you were saying about immigration, because it's definitely been a driver of the right, out of control immigration in all the countries we talked about, and it's what drove Brexit. Right? Now, for me, you've got to look at where are these people coming from. So the Afghan-Iraqi war led to huge displacement. Iraq alone, that war, driven by the US and we, coalition of the willing, displaced 4 million Iraqis. You've had 5 million Syrians displaced. Then, for some reason, the West felt compelled to kill Gaddafi. And now it always follows the geography. So Italy and the UK are now getting huge numbers of Libyans. When Libya used to be quite a stable state, you wouldn't have wanted to be a literal enemy of Gaddafi, but they did have healthcare and schools. Now they are all displaced. Then you have the US's long-term foreign policy that we could talk about for 6 hours in Latin America, and the war
Yeah,
on drugs and
it's
everything
true.
that led to the cartels, which is leading to the displacement of people. So we learn nothing because people want bite-sized things. So I guess I'm just careful about demonizing the volume of immigrants that are driving this. I don't decry the issue for a minute. I think it's absolutely what is, but no one wants to look at why are people hammering down the
Well, it's
doors.
true. It's true. You're totally right. It's just that you also see why Biden did what he did, and that upset some people. Uh, he was trying to check the situation at the border because that also makes people nervous. It's a fact. I mean, a lot of this is politics. You can't get everything. You cannot get. People are always looking for utopia. Open the borders, let everyone in. That does not work. So what do? It's complicated. When you have a huge influx, you need systems to apply really good filters, or you will annoy a lot of people, right? And worse, you give people like Trump and Marie Le Pen something to talk about, and that's what's dangerous, because
Yes,
then,
and it's
you know,
easy. The hate
yeah,
vote's easy. It's
yeah,
cheap and dirty.
exactly,
But
exactly.
the money, and often we think, oh, these things should be done, but there's no money. With what the Pentagon spends, its annual budget, if a tenth of that was reinforcing Ecuador, Venezuela, that's on its knees. And now in Argentina, people are calling themselves Argenzuela, right, which gives you some clue too.
Yeah, Argenzuela.
You get it.
Yeah.
The point is, plenty of money was spent destabilizing these countries, making sure non-elected despots got in and driving it. So we come to the question of corruption everywhere, because if I could wave my magic wand, more money was spent in those countries. There's no point if people are going to run away with that money.
It's true. What you say is
Right?
100% true. And it's also true that someone could say to you, "Do you know that that's how Orban keeps power in Hungary? Because he'll tell his citizens, look, we don't have that problem here because I just don't let them in, right? That's
Yeah.
what he does." And so
Nice
then
and
they
simple.
go, well, in Germany, they're running around, they're imposing their views on the Germans. We don't like that here, and that has a big appeal, right?
Of
So
course, it's
you've got to
really
be political
simple.
enough to know, what do I do? And I'm not suggesting that I have the perfect answer, but I'm saying
Yeah.
that the European problem is much like the problem here. Way too lax, and everybody what should we do? If we do this, we offend this group. If we do this, we offend the other group. And in the end, it can hurt your democracy. The liberal democracy is damaged as a result.
Yes.
because you end up
And I
with.
was surprised at Macron's response. We're just going to have an election. I think that was a knee-jerk response that he may regret.
And a little bit dangerous because I looked at his chart and Jupiter's opposing, and Jupiter opposing is a classic
Not getting
overconfident
what you
move.
want.
Well, you make a move that is overconfident. You
Yeah.
think, oh, this will work, and then you realize, it's not a good plan. So yeah, that one it has me
Uh,
a little worried. But the thing is, the French election is in 2027. A lot can happen between now and then,
oh, yeah.
and to then tell me, even if they get more control of the parliament, because see, the other thing too is if you give these people power, they quickly show you how bad they are. It's like our House of Representatives. That's like a
Yes.
circus, of ethical violations, people that are anything from stupid to mentally ill, the things that they say, the things that they do. So sometimes you have to put them out there to make the populace realize, this is what you're going to get.
Yeah.
And uh, I still don't see, I don't see the European bloc suddenly, filled
Disintegrating
with
on.
fascists. I just, even though I know that there are problems everywhere, Spain,
Mm,
Italy, France, UK,
mm,
Netherlands. I didn't know that, but now that you bring
mm.
it up, oh, Germany too. Germany, the far right is rising as well, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah. Oh my God.
yeah. So I mean,
They need us
hopefully,
to rule the world, Andre. Oh,
say that again. Who would rule the world?
they need us. They
Oh
need
yes,
astrologers.
I
They need
know.
a tarot. So look at big picture stuff
I know.
instead.
And what it might be too is because the Uranus cycle, it did put us in a conflict with an external country. And of course, that's scary because you always hope. Well, I hope it's not a nuclear conflict. But one of the ways to shift public attention is if there is a genuine conflict between the two systems, and and then people have to pay attention to that instead of their internal dissatisfaction.
Yes,
Yeah.
but also, full disclosure, old lefty, what is a constant frustration for me is that thing about when there's an influx of migrants, they are taking our jobs. We get it in
Oh, of
Australia,
course,
we get it in
of
the
course.
US. No, most Anglos aren't prepared to work on their knees all day picking beans and strawberries for
Hmm.
$3 a week. No, they're not. And so it frustrates me that there's no voice that points out the reason you're getting so badly paid or you're not working or whatever is because of out of control rogue capitalism,
It's
not
true.
actually the humble migrant with 6 kids working 36 hours
It's
a day.
100% true. And I mean, good
Uh,
luck with
but
good
it's
luck with
never
making
part of the conversation.
it. And it's really hard. I mean, think about the fact that Obama, who was at minimum, he was centrist. He was deporting millions. So this means now, if you're deporting people, a lot of that was that they were not making a case for asylum at the border. That's also going on, right? Because people do want to come to the U.S. Everybody says the U.S. is a horrible country, but they're all trying to break in. So it's too dangerous a political point for the right to exploit. You have to figure out a way to control that. And you probably have to do that before you tackle. I know what you're saying is that they should tackle the cause. Well, how are you going to do that? There's no money.
Oh,
There's no.
totally. I'm not expecting them
I
to
mean,
tackle the cause. I'm just simply pointing out this is why we have constant band-aids
a
and
hundred
crisis.
percent. Yeah,
You
true.
know,
One hundred
it's
percent. No question. Yeah. I mean,
but it's also, I mean, again, Biden is doing things at the border. But the point is you have to control the narrative as well as the reality. And the Dems are spectacularly bad at the narrative, you know.
right.
So they could deport 8 million between now and next Wednesday and no one would change their position. You know, they just
No,
don't
there isn't.
control the narrative.
Correct. I mean, now I don't know whether Biden will be capable of. I know that if it was someone like Gavin Newsom, he would pound on this until he made Trump incredibly angry because he'd say, you did this, I put it forth, you had the most strict border legislation in decades, and you said we don't want that because then I won't get to talk about it. This is incredibly irresponsible, which is, by the way, what
Exactly.
you are. You're an irresponsible criminal. Well, maybe that's going too far, but he is. He's
No,
a
no, it's
criminal.
not. It
I mean, that's
wouldn't
what he
be.
is. He's a
No.
totally irresponsible individual. You have no regard for the country whatsoever because that was the correct thing to do, and all you could think about was the political move. Oh, don't do that because then I won't have something to talk about. So that's what I would be
And
saying.
that's why there needs to be the next generation coming through.
Mm,
You need people who can back this nonsense down,
mm.
boom, day one. And Newsom is very good at that.
He
And
is.
he also, another sacred cow of the Dems is that we all know the red states are poorer than the blue states. If you're a grown up, you understand the blue states are subsidizing the red states.
That's what.
And the Dems go, oh, we don't want to make anyone feel bad, never mention it. And Newsom just goes
Oh yeah,
smack.
Newsom told Hannity. He actually said, "Hey, who do you think is paying for your states? It's our states
Yes,
that are paying the taxes." And then
exactly.
Hannity said, "Oh, high
Exactly.
taxes. That's high taxes. That's how you pay the bills. Do you want to
Yeah.
not be paid?" I mean, it's remarkable. A lot of these red states, we're going to leave. Where are you going? This is like you want to get divorced and get no settlement. I don't think that's going to work. So it's incredible. It's
Well,
like
bring back the Mason-Dixon line,
I know, and I thought it was actually a little bit. A little strong. He might have worded it a bit differently, but he just said it on Fox News. He was very clear, right in his
Yes, and
face.
that's where you have to say it as well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, I
Meet
mean,
them where they are, you know.
100%. But this is the thing: we're in this era, this pickle. It's probably true. I have to admit, probably would have been wiser for Biden to have tried to maybe well, I don't know how you would have done Newsom though, because there's Kamala. I mean, it's pretty tricky. We're in an era where it's almost like we were going to have this situation with two
Yeah,
old people that are obviously not at the peak of their game. But, one thing about Joe is a lot more on top of it. He seems to be, at times, he's standing there, he seems feeble, and then he surprises you with
the
how
secret, I
aware he
think, for
is.
Biden is he needs to unleash his inner Scorpio.
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
needs to cultivate that in bites, in sound bites, like
Mhm.
the throwaway line where he says, I've got to debate a 6-year-old. That went viral. There needs to be more of that vicious Scorpio put down.
Mhm. Yeah.
No one's up for the lugubrious, in paragraph 3, page 54 stuff. No,
Oh no, I mean,
just,
a guy like Trump. I mean, when he talks about the injustice, you say, this guy. I just want to make something clear. This man is basically a constant liar. He's the prime BSer. All he
yeah,
does is lie. This is all BS, complete BS. Keep repeating it, because he repeats the opposite. It's all
that's right.
repetition.
So keep
Keep
drilling
saying it.
it.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean, I would do that at any opportunity that I had, including in a face to face, even if it meant that things became nastier than they need to be. I don't care. It's
And it has two repercussions. One is you're getting that counter message across, but also Trump can dish it out, but he can't handle it.
of course, yeah, no question,
Right?
no
Just a
question,
couple of smacks and he'd be on the floor
no
whimpering
question. I
in
mean,
fetal heat.
one of his like he's an idiot, and he says, "Oh, I'm really intelligent because I had an uncle at MIT." I would just say, "No, actually, you're quite stupid." And then when he gets mad, I'll say, "Yeah, I know. Person, woman, man, camera, TV. I know. You took the test and you
Exactly.
passed. You aced it. You aced
Tease
it."
him, goad him, he would
Oh,
fall apart. Don't
totally.
try and meet him here. Go
Exactly.
underneath.
Exactly. I mean, and I would risk that if I'm Biden. I would
Yes.
risk that to perhaps people saying, "Man, maybe Joe went too far." You know what? You going too
No,
far?
I
You
tell you
kidding?
what, people are craving it,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? They actually want to see their guy as well, meaning Biden, if you're a Dem. They want to see him have a bit of chutzpah. They want to see him get on top of this lying clown.
Yeah.
People want it. He wouldn't get any bad press from it, you know?
No, no. And the thing about, the comparison of the two, accepting it's correct what you said about there's some danger to Biden around his health. He's got to get around that, right? But overall, his chart is much better. And for instance, one of the things that's happening now is I had said in the spring, just watch how, and I didn't know it would be the State of the Union, but there was a shift with Saturn. So what happened is all that talk about being too old for a while disappeared. It resurfaced this month and might be there into next month. The Saturn is too close to one of his the midheaven line, but then going into the election period, it's no longer a problem. So you see that
Good.
Saturn is better, much better than for Biden than for Trump, and that alone is a major killer. When you're running an election, the planet you never want against you is Saturn, and then Neptune, which
That's
is
right.
a popularity planet, is much better for Biden as well, much better than it is
And
for.
I think he's such an old warhorse in the sense he's been around so long. He knows he has to step up from here
I would think
too.
so. Yeah, I would think
And
so.
I think he will, hopefully, with good people around him, maximize his energy in that way.
Yeah,
Put Kamala and also other second tier Dems that they've got, really good people, Eric Swalwell and different ones in different places, put them out there. And so he rests a bit. So when he's out, he's on.
correct. And I mean, if I were coaching him, I would say use as little caffeine as possible. Just save it for when you need a
Yeah.
boost. And then it'll be like a performance enhancing drug. And no one can say, well, you went to what? You went to Starbucks, you're cheating. No, I mean,
No, I totally agree. But it's also flagging the thing. We know focus groups have said over and over they like Joe, but they're worried about his age. What that strategy does is it makes people more familiar with these faces. You don't put AOC in the Rust Belt. No, you keep her in New York and Miami, and you have Pete Buttigieg in the Bible Belt, where he goes verse for verse in the Bible with these people. They've got the talent to distribute it,
yeah.
and they're going to actually do better, I think, if they address these regions of America, not necessarily individual states, but regions and regional identity with their best second tier.
Yeah, and it includes Obama, by the way. He's going to be back on the trail. He's a great,
Well, he needs to be to secure the
yeah,
black vote turnout.
yeah. No, and Biden also, I heard someone say today that he should say, that he's already been saying this, but it's a great line is to say, yeah, I'm old, but look who I'm running against. I mean, look, just
Yeah,
take a look. I mean, I would just say to people, you know what? Listen, America, yeah, you have these complaints about me. Just look up the other guy. All I ask you to do
yeah,
is don't compare me to God, compare me to who I'm running against.
totally.
It's like
Yeah.
it's like I remember this person when I was shopping for monitors many years ago. He said, just take a good long look. Just take a look and then buy the monitor you like. It's the same thing here. It's right in front of your eyes. Just watch this guy, and this is what you're going to get. It should scare you, plain and
Yeah.
simple. Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
that. But I know it's a little feisty, but as you say, Scorpio, the reason they are the way they are is the first ruler is Mars, the co-ruler is Pluto. That's intense energy. And if you attack a Scorpio, poke them, they'll probably come at you pretty hard. Biden can be that way, though. I've seen him quite a few times. It's not like
Yeah.
it would not be news if he, you know,
No, that's right. I
yeah,
just encourage him to go for that.
yeah, exactly, yeah.
Mhm.
Well,
That's-
have we solved all the world's problems?
I think so. Not
No,
bad for 60
no,
minutes.
not bad. All right. Well, I hope we can. If you're up to it, let's do another one within the next month or so because by mid-July there's going to be a
Yeah.
lot to talk about. To
Yes,
see what the.
exactly. So maybe in 3 weeks or something, we have to accelerate too.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, and I have a feeling because now we have well, definitely three or four major things: the Supreme Court, the
The
debate, the
sentencing.
convention, the sentencing. There's a lot going on, and I'll be able to get a much better feel by noticing what happens with all of that as I'm looking at the stations of the planets that are happening now that I believe are very difficult for Trump, you know. And so I just want to see what happens so I can gauge the next developments. So, all right.
Totally.
Again, it was a pleasure. We'll say goodbye to everyone for now. Bye, everyone.
Thanks for watching.